A biker boss walked in on a black woman standing beside his open safe. Cash scattered across the floor, bills still floating in the air, and my hand was already reaching for my gun. She stood frozen, one hand still on the safe door, the other clutching stacks of hundreds like they could shield her from what was coming. Her eyes met mine, wide, terrified, caught. "Who the hell are you?" I demanded. "And you've got 5 seconds to tell me why you're still breathing." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just shallow breaths and the sound of money hitting the floor. I started counting. 5! She shook her head frantically. 4! "Please!" she finally gasped. "Please, just let me explain." 3. "I'm not a thief." 2. Before I could say 1, I heard footsteps. Small, quiet, wrong. I turned and saw my daughter standing in the doorway, her teddy bear tucked under one arm. Elizabeth. My blood went cold. "Lizzie," I said, my voice tight. "Go back to your room. Now!" But she didn't move. She just stared at the woman by the safe, then walked straight past me and held out a folded piece of paper. I took it, unfolded it, and read the words written in a child's uneven handwriting. "She needs it for my surgery." Everything stopped. If you've ever had to choose between the person you were and the person you need to become, you already know this story won't end the way you think. Welcome back to the channel. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because what happens next will shatter everything you thought you knew about strength, sacrifice, and what it really means to protect the people you love. I looked down at my daughter, then back at the woman standing beside my open safe. The gun felt heavy in my hand. Elizabeth had never done anything like this before, not once in the 8 years since her mother died. "Lizzie," I said carefully, keeping my voice steady. "What are you talking about?" "She's not stealing, Daddy," Elizabeth said quietly. "I told her to take it." The woman finally found her voice. "I tried to stop her," she said, her hands trembling as she set the cash down on the floor. "I swear to God I tried, but she wouldn't listen." I stared at her. "Who are you?" "My name is Angie Trivette," she said quickly. "I'm her caregiver. I've been helping Elizabeth while you're away, at work, wherever you go." She gestured toward a bag sitting near the wall. "I have ID, references, everything. Your daughter, she's sick, Mr. Bearden, sicker than you know." I lowered the gun slightly, but didn't holster it. "Show me." Slowly, Angie reached for the bag and pulled out a folder. Medical records, hospital invoices, a surgery estimate that made my chest tighten. "She needs surgery," Angie said softly. "Soon, and it costs more than most people see in a lifetime." I looked at Elizabeth. She stood there, small and calm, clutching her bear. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "Because you said you'd never touch that money again," she whispered. "You promised Mom." The safe. The blood money I swore I'd leave alone. The line I'd drawn after my wife died. And now my daughter was standing here, willing to break it for me. "Lizzie," I started. "I heard the doctors," she said, her voice barely audible. "They said you couldn't afford it, not the legal way. So I thought, if I took it myself, you wouldn't have to break your promise." Angie stepped forward cautiously. "I came here tonight to stop her," she said. "But she'd already opened the safe by the time I got in. I was trying to put it back when you—" Her words were cut off by the sound of engines. Low, rumbling, close. I moved to the window. 3 bikes, maybe 4. Rival crew. They'd been watching, and they'd just seen my safe open. I turned back to Angie and Elizabeth. "Get away from the window," I said quietly. "Now!" Angie grabbed Elizabeth's hand and pulled her toward the back of the room. "What's happening?" she asked. "What I was trying to avoid," I said. And then the front door exploded inward. You think he's going to fight his way out of this? That the gun and the reputation will save him? Keep watching, because the most feared man in the city is about to make a choice that will shock even his enemies. Don't click away now or you'll miss the moment that changes everything. But to understand how we got here, to this moment, with guns drawn and lives on the line, you need to know three things. First, who I am. Second, what that safe really represents. And third, why my daughter would rather risk everything than ask me for help. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Kevin Bearden, and I've been running this crew since I was 19 years old. The bikers crashed through what was left of my door like a storm of leather and steel. 3 of them, Southside crew. I recognized the patches. They saw the open safe, saw the woman, saw Elizabeth, and they smiled. "Well, well," the lead biker said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "Looks like the great Kevin Bearden's got himself a problem." I stepped between them and my daughter. "Walk away, Marcus," I said quietly. "This doesn't concern you." "Safe's open, Bearden. Money's on the floor. That concerns everybody." He took a step forward. I raised the gun, not at him, at the ceiling. One shot. The sound exploded through the room, sharp and final. Everyone froze. "Nobody moves," I said. "Nobody touches anything, and nobody speaks unless I tell them to." I looked at my second in command, Ricky, who'd come in behind the Southside crew. "Get them out," I said in a voice that left no room for argument. "Now." Ricky hesitated. "Boss, if they saw—" "I said get them out." Marcus laughed, but it was hollow. "You're protecting a thief now? That's weak, Bearden. Word gets out. Your whole operation—" "Gets out?" I cut him off. "You mean the word that you broke into my home? Threatened my daughter?" "Yeah. Let's see how that plays with the council." The smile died on his face. "We're done here," I said. "Ricky, escort them, politely." Ricky nodded and moved toward the door. The Southside crew backed out slowly, their eyes still on the safe, on Angie, on everything they'd use against me later. When the door finally closed, the silence felt heavier than the gunshot. I turned to Angie. "Start talking." She told me everything, not in clean sentences, in fragments, broken pieces of truth that came out between shallow breaths and shaking hands. "I'm not a thief," she said first. "I need you to know that. I've never stolen anything in my life." "Then why are you standing in my safe room with $50,000 at your feet?" "Because your daughter asked me to." I looked at Elizabeth. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Angie kept going. "I used to be a social worker," she said. "In Charlotte. I worked with kids in the system. Foster care, abuse cases. I saw things that I couldn't keep doing it. So I moved here, started doing private caregiving instead." "And you ended up with my daughter." "A woman from the school recommended me, said you traveled a lot, worked late, needed someone reliable." That was true. After my wife died, I'd hired caregivers on and off. Elizabeth burned through most of them. She didn't like strangers in the house, but she never mentioned Angie. "How long?" I asked. 6 months, Angie said quietly. "I've been coming 3 times a week, sometimes more when you're gone overnight." 6 months, and I never knew. "She started getting sick about 2 months ago," Angie continued. "Dizzy spells, nosebleeds. She'd hide it from you, but she couldn't hide it from me." I looked at Elizabeth again. Her face was pale, tired. How had I missed this? "I took her to the hospital," Angie said. "Paid out of pocket because I knew you wouldn't want a paper trail. The doctors ran tests, found a tumor, benign but growing. It's pressing on her brain stem. She needs surgery, soon." The folder in my hands suddenly felt like it weighed 100 pounds. "They quoted me $240,000, Angie said. "I applied for charity care, medical grants, payment plans. Every bank in the city turned me down. The hospital said without insurance or upfront payment, they couldn't schedule the surgery. So you came here? No, she said firmly. I didn't. Elizabeth did. I turned to my daughter. Lizzie. I heard them talking, she said quietly. The doctors. They said the surgery was expensive, that most families can't afford it. I heard Miss Angie on the phone crying because nobody would help. Her small voice cracked. I know about the safe, Daddy. I've always known. I see you look at it sometimes when you think I'm asleep. You look at it like it hurts you. She was right. The safe. The blood money. Everything I'd built before my wife died. Before I promised her I'd go clean. Before I swore I'd be a different man for Elizabeth. I thought if I took the money myself, Elizabeth whispered, you wouldn't have to break your promise to Mom. The anger I'd been holding shattered, not at Angie, not at Elizabeth, at myself. I tried to stop her, Angie said. I swear I did, but when I got here tonight, she'd already cracked the safe. I was putting the money back when you walked in. I closed my eyes. My 8-year-old daughter knew how to open my safe. She knew what the money represented. She knew my promises, my failures, my secrets, and she'd been willing to carry the weight of it herself rather than ask me for help. Daddy? Elizabeth's voice was so small. Are you mad? I knelt down in front of her, put the gun on the floor, and pulled her into my arms. No, baby, I said quietly. I'm not mad. I was broken, but I couldn't tell her that. Over her shoulder, I looked at Angie. You said hospitals turned you down, she nodded. What if they didn't have a choice? Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I stood, still holding Elizabeth. I mean, I'm going to make sure my daughter gets her surgery, the right way. There is no right way, Angie said. Not with that kind of money. Not in our world. Then I'll build one. And I meant it. Even if it cost me everything. If you're already feeling this, just wait. Because what comes next isn't just about one man's impossible choice. It's about what happens when love becomes more powerful than fear. Smash that like button right now if you believe people can change, and drop a comment telling me, would you sacrifice everything you built for the person you love most? I read every single comment. I carried Elizabeth to the couch while Angie gathered the medical files scattered across the floor. The folder was thick. Too thick. Show me everything, I said. Angie hesitated, then handed it over. I opened it. The first page was a diagnostic report from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Patient, Elizabeth Marie Bearden. Age, 8. Diagnosis, brainstem, glioma, low grade. The words blurred. I kept reading. Location, Pons region. Size, 2.3 centimeters, expanding symptoms, dizziness, nosebleeds, vision disturbances, balance issues. Recommendation, immediate surgical resection. Risk level, high estimated cost, $240,000, $280,000. My hands shook. How long has she known? I asked. About a month, Angie said quietly. The doctors told her first. She made me promise not to tell you. I looked at Elizabeth. She was curled up on the couch, her teddy bear clutched tight, staring at nothing. Lizzie, I said gently, why didn't you tell me? She didn't answer right away. When she finally spoke, her voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear it. Because I didn't want you to go back. Go back where? To being the man Mom was scared of. The words hit me like a fist to the chest. 8 years ago, my wife, Caroline, lying in a hospital bed after the accident, holding my hand, begging me. Promise me, Kevin. Promise me you'll leave it behind. All of it. The crew, the money, the violence. I don't want Elizabeth growing up thinking that's normal. Promise me. I'd promised, and I'd kept it. For 8 years, I ran a legitimate business. A motorcycle shop, custom builds, legal income, clean books. The safe in my office was a relic, a reminder. Blood money I'd earned before Caroline died. Money I swore I'd never touch. But Elizabeth had been there that night. She'd heard her mother's last words, and she remembered. "I started feeling dizzy at school," Elizabeth said, her voice distant. "Then I got nosebleeds. Miss Angie took me to the doctor. They did tests, lots of tests." She looked at me with eyes far too old for her age. "The doctor said it would cost a lot of money, more than we have. I heard Miss Angie crying on the phone. She kept saying nobody would help." "So you decided to fix it yourself," I said. She nodded. "I watched you one night. You didn't know I was awake. You opened the safe and just stared at it, like it hurt you to look at." She wasn't wrong. "I learned the combination by watching your hands," she said. "I practiced when you weren't home. I thought, if I took the money, you wouldn't have to. You could keep your promise to Mom." My daughter. My 8-year-old daughter. She was willing to become a thief so I could stay clean. "Lizzie," I started, but the words wouldn't come. Angie stepped forward. "She's been having vision problems for 2 weeks," she said. "Balance issues, headaches so bad she can't sleep. The tumor is growing, Kevin. The surgery can't wait much longer." "How long do we have?" "The neurologist said 4 to 6 weeks before the risks escalate. After that..." She didn't finish. She didn't have to. I looked at the safe, at the money still scattered across the floor. $240,000. It was all there, and more, enough to pay for the surgery 10 times over. But it was dirty. Every dollar, bought with fear, violence. Deals I'd made when I was someone else. Someone Caroline had been terrified of. Someone I swore I'd never be again. "I can use the money," I said. "I can pay for the surgery tonight." Angie shook her head. "No?" I stared at her. "Excuse me?" "I said no," she repeated, her voice firm. "I won't let you do that. You were just standing here about to steal it yourself." "I was putting it back," she said. "And even if I wasn't, that was before I knew what it represented, before I knew what it would cost you." She crossed her arms. "You made a promise to your wife, to your daughter. If you break that now, what does that teach her? That promises don't matter? That the only way to solve problems is dirty money and shortcuts? My daughter is dying. Then save her the right way." "There is no right way," I shouted. "You said it yourself. The banks said no. The charities said no. The hospital won't operate without payment. So what the hell am I supposed to do?" "I don't know," Angie said quietly. "But I know it's not this." She stepped closer. "If you use that money, I walk, and I report everything. The safe, the crew, all of it. Elizabeth deserves a father who keeps his word, not one who breaks it the second things get hard." "You're threatening me?" "I'm protecting her." We stood there, locked in a silent battle neither of us could win. Then Elizabeth spoke. "Miss Angie is right, Daddy." I looked down at her. "Mom made you promise," she said softly. "If you break it, she'll be sad, even in heaven." My chest tightened. "I'd rather die keeping the promise," Elizabeth whispered, "than live knowing you broke it because of me." Before I could respond, I heard it. Faint at first, then growing louder. Sirens. Angie's face went pale. "What is that?" I moved to the window. 3 police cruisers. Headed this way. Fast. "Someone called it in," I said quietly. "Called what in?" "The gunshot. The break-in. The open safe." I turned to look at her. "You wanted a clean solution?" I said. "Looks like we're about to get one." The sirens were almost at the door. The sirens stopped outside my building, but the cops didn't come in. I watched from the window as the cruisers idled at the curb, lights flashing, but no one got out. Then my phone rang. Ricky. Boss, we've got a situation. I can see the situation, I said. Why aren't they moving? Because Marcus made a call. He's got a cousin on the force. They're stalling, waiting for orders. Orders from who? The council. My blood went cold. The council. The network of crew leaders who ran every illegal operation in the city. I'd been a part of it once, sat at that table, made decisions that put people in the ground. But I'd walked away 8 years ago, and now they smelled blood. They know about the safe, Ricky said. Marcus spread the word before I could stop him. Said you're compromised. Weak. That someone got inside your operation. I looked at Angie. She was holding Elizabeth close, both of them watching me. How bad is it? I asked. Bad. Half the crews in the city think you've gone soft. The other half think you're hiding something valuable enough to steal. Either way, they're circling. Who's moving? South side for sure. Easttown's asking questions. The Russians want a meeting. A meeting. That was code. It meant they wanted to see if I was still dangerous enough to respect or vulnerable enough to eliminate. Tell them no, I said. Silence on the other end. Boss, if you refuse a council meeting, then they'll know exactly where I stand. They'll come for you. Let them. I hung up. Angie stood slowly, still holding Elizabeth's hand. What's happening? She asked. The people I used to work with, I said. They know something's wrong, and now they're going to test me. Test you how? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The look on her face told me she already understood. We need to leave, she said. Right now. Before this gets worse. You think they'll let you leave? I asked. They saw you. They saw Elizabeth. You're leveraged now. Her grip on Elizabeth tightened. Then what do we do? Before I could answer, the door opened. Ricky walked in, followed by 3 of my crew, all of them armed. Boss, Ricky said, we need to talk. I gestured toward the hallway. Not here. Not in front of my daughter. We moved to the kitchen. Angie stayed with Elizabeth, but I could feel her eyes on me the entire time. Ricky got straight to the point. Southside's mobilizing. They'll be here within the hour, maybe less. How many? 15, maybe 20. One of my guys, a kid named Jake, stepped forward. We can handle 20, he said. We hit them first. Hard. Send a message. No, I said. Boss, if we don't... I said no. Ricky's jaw tightened. Kevin, they think you're weak. If you don't retaliate, they'll roll right over you, over all of us. Then let them. The room went silent. Jake looked at Ricky like I'd lost my mind. You're serious, Ricky said slowly. I'm done, I said. With all of it. The violence, the territory, the whole damn game. You can't just walk away, Jake said. That's not how this works. You walk away, you're a target. Forever. Then I'll deal with it. Ricky shook his head. This isn't just about you anymore. You've got Elizabeth. You've got this woman, whoever she is, standing in your safe room. If you don't fight back, they'll use them to get to you. I looked through the doorway at Elizabeth. She was sitting on the couch, her teddy bear in her lap, staring at me with those big, tired eyes, waiting. Not for me to fight, but for me to choose. I'm not putting my daughter in the middle of a war, I said quietly. She's already in the middle of it, Ricky said. The second Marcus saw her, she became a target. Then I'll get her out. How? You can't run from this, Kevin. They'll find you. They always do. He was right. I knew he was right, but I also knew something else. If I fought back now, if I gave the order to retaliate, I'd become the man Caroline begged me not to be, the man Elizabeth was trying to protect me from becoming. And I'd lose them both, even if they survived. I need options, I said. There are no options, Ricky said. You fight or you die. That's it. That's all there's ever been. I looked at him. What if I gave them what they wanted? What do you mean? The safe, the money, the territory, all of it. What if I just handed it over? Jake laughed. They don't want your money, boss. They want your blood. They want to prove you're nothing without the fear. Then let them prove it. Ricky stepped closer. You're not thinking straight. This woman, she's messing with your head. She's telling me the truth, I said. Something none of you have done in years. The truth? Ricky's voice rose. The truth is, you're about to get yourself killed, and your daughter with you. Not if I do this right. There is no right way to do this. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. Council wants a meet. 1 hour. Come alone or we come to you. I showed it to Ricky. His face went pale. That's not a meeting, he said. That's an execution. Then I guess I better get ready. I walked back into the living room. Angie stood immediately. What's happening? They want to meet, I said. The people I used to work with, they want answers. And if you don't go, they come here. Elizabeth's small voice cut through the tension. Are the bad men coming, Daddy? I knelt in front of her. I won't let anyone hurt you, I said. I promise. You promised Mom you'd stop being bad too. Her words cut deeper than any knife. I know, baby, and I'm going to keep that promise no matter what. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she hugged me. I believe you, she whispered. When I stood, Angie was staring at me. What are you going to do? She asked. Something stupid, I said. Or something brave. I haven't decided yet. Outside, engines rumbled in the distance, getting closer. Ricky looked out the window. They're early. I checked my watch. 45 minutes. Not a meeting. A siege. Get them inside, I said to Ricky. Elizabeth and Angie, back room, now. Boss, do it. The engines grew louder. Headlights cut through the darkness outside. 20 bikes, maybe more, and they were all headed straight for us. Still think violence is strength? Still think power protects what you love? You're about to see a man make a choice that will either destroy him or save everyone he cares about. And you won't believe which one it is. Keep watching. The bikes stopped 50 feet from the building. 23 of them. I counted. South Side, East Town. A few independents looking to prove themselves. They killed their engines in unison, and the sudden silence was worse than the noise. Marcus stepped forward, flanked by 2 of his enforcers. Bearden, he shouted. We just want to talk. Ricky chambered around. That's not talking, he muttered. I put my hand on his weapon and pushed it down. No shooting, I said. Boss, they're not here for conversation. I know what they're here for. I moved to the door, but Angie grabbed my arm. Don't go out there, she said. Please. If I don't, they come in. Elizabeth was watching from the hallway, her bear clutched tight. I looked at Ricky. Anything happens to them, you get them out. Back exit. Don't stop. Don't look back. Kevin, swear it. He hesitated, then nodded. I stepped outside. Marcus smiled when he saw me. There he is, he said. The legend himself. We were starting to think you'd gone soft. What do you want, Marcus? Just checking in. Heard you had some trouble tonight. Break-in. Open safe. Cops sitting outside like they're waiting for an invitation. He gestured toward the police cruisers still parked at the curb, lights off now, watching. Thought maybe you needed some assistance. I'm fine. "You don't look fine," one of the Easttown guys said. "You look compromised." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the group. "The council wants to know if you're still solid," Marcus continued, "or if you've become a liability." "I'm out," I said. "Have been for 8 years. This doesn't concern you." "You don't get to be out," Marcus said. "Not when you still have a safe full of our money. Not when you still have connections. Secrets." He stepped closer. "You're either with us or against us, Bearden. And right now, you look pretty against." Behind me, I heard the door crack open. Ricky's voice, low and urgent. "Boss, we've got movement. Back alley. They're surrounding us." A setup. The meeting was never a meeting. It was a siege. Marcus saw the realization on my face and grinned. "Last chance," he said. "Open the safe. Hand over what you've got. And maybe we forget this whole thing happened. And if I don't?" He shrugged. "Then we take it." The first gunshot shattered the night. Not from Marcus. From someone in the back. A warning shot. Then chaos. Glass exploded inward as bullets tore through the windows. I hit the ground, rolled, and scrambled back inside. "Get them down!" I shouted at Ricky. "Elizabeth and Angie! Back room, now!" Ricky grabbed Angie's arm and pulled her toward the hallway. Elizabeth screamed as another window shattered. My crew returned fire. Jake was at the window, rifle up, squeezing off controlled bursts. "How many?" I shouted over the noise. "Too many!" he yelled back. More bikes roared up. Reinforcements. They were going to rush the building. I looked at Ricky. "Tell them to stop shooting." "What?" "Tell them to stop!" "Boss, they'll kill us! Do it!" Ricky stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Then he shouted the order. "Cease fire! Cease fire!" One by one, my guys lowered their weapons. The shooting from outside slowed. Stopped. Confused silence. Marcus's voice cut through it. "What the hell are you doing, Bearden?" I stood, hands raised, and walked to the shattered window. "I'm done fighting," I said. "Then you just signed your death warrant." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I signed yours." I pulled out my phone. One button, pre-programmed. A call I'd set up 3 months ago when I first started planning my exit. It rang once, then a voice answered. "This is Agent Sarah Chen, FBI Organized Crime Task Force. Is this Kevin Bearden?" "It is." "Are you ready to proceed?" I looked at Marcus, at the bikes, at the men with guns who thought they still owned me. "I'm ready." "Signal received. Units are moving in now." I lowered the phone. Marcus's face went from confusion to rage. "What did you just do?" "What I should have done 8 years ago." The first federal vehicle came around the corner, lights flashing, sirens screaming. Then another. Then 5 more. FBI, ATF, local PD. They swarmed the street like a flood. "Hands up! Everybody on the ground!" Marcus tried to run. He made it 3 steps before 2 agents tackled him into the pavement. Bikes were abandoned. Guns clattered to the asphalt. Men dropped to their knees, hands behind their heads. Within 60 seconds, the entire crew was in cuffs. An agent approached me, weapon drawn but lowered. "Kevin Bearden?" "That's me." "You have the evidence we discussed?" I nodded toward the house. "Safe room. Everything you need. Financial records, territory maps, names, connections. 8 years' worth of files I kept as insurance." "And the others inside?" "My daughter and her caregiver. Civilians. They're not part of this." The agent nodded and signaled to her team. Then she looked at me. "We had a deal, Mr. Bearden. Full cooperation in exchange for immunity and witness protection for you and your family." I remember. "You understand once we process this scene, there's no going back. You'll be out. Completely. No contact with your old life. New identities if necessary. I understand. She pulled out handcuffs. For appearances, she said quietly. The crews are watching. They need to see you go down with everyone else. I held out my wrists. The metal clicked around them, cold, final. As she led me toward the vehicle, I looked back at the house. Angie stood in the doorway, holding Elizabeth. My daughter's face was streaked with tears, but she wasn't crying anymore. She was smiling, just a little, like she knew, like she'd been waiting for this moment all along. Daddy kept his promise, I heard her whisper to Angie. And for the first time in 8 years, I felt the weight lift. They put me in the back of a federal SUV. Not a criminal, not a biker boss, just a father who'd finally chosen right. As we pulled away from the scene, away from the guns, the bikes, the life I'd built on fear, I closed my eyes, and I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay. The sirens faded into the distance, and for the first time in years, I didn't hear them as a threat. I heard them as freedom. Did you just see that? A biker boss who chose surrender over violence, cooperation over control. If that gave you chills, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to know that real strength isn't about how hard you can fight. It's about knowing when to walk away. We're not done yet. The interrogation room was smaller than I expected. Gray walls, metal table, 2 chairs. Agent Chen sat across from me, a recorder between us and 3 thick folders stacked beside her. Let's start from the beginning, she said. So I did. I gave them everything. Names, dates, locations, every deal I'd brokered before I walked away, every connection I'd kept as insurance, every piece of leverage I'd buried in that safe for 8 years, hoping I'd never need it. Now I was handing it over like evidence at a crime scene, because that's what it was. The Southside crew runs protection rackets in 6 neighborhoods, I said, pointing to a map I'd drawn from memory. Marcus Vega is the current leader, but the real power is his uncle, Ramon. He's been moving synthetic drugs through the port for 3 years. Agent Chen took notes. And you have proof? Financial records, shipping manifests, photos, all in the safe. Why did you keep all this? I looked at her. Because I knew one day someone would come for me, and I wanted to be ready. Ready to run, or ready to fight? Ready to choose. She studied me for a moment, then flipped to another page. Tell me about Easttown. I did. For 6 hours, I dismantled an empire I'd helped build. Every name I gave was another door closing behind me. Every document I handed over was another bridge burned. By the time we finished, there was nothing left. No territory, no influence, no protection. Just a man, with nothing but the truth. They seized the safe 3 days later. Federal agents came with warrants, cameras, and evidence bags. I watched from the hallway as they emptied it. $260,000 in cash. Financial records going back 15 years. Ledgers detailing every transaction, every deal, every dollar earned through fear. Angie stood beside me, holding Elizabeth's hand. That's a lot of money, she said quietly. Blood money, I corrected. And now it's gone. Not gone. Evidence. She looked at me. Do you regret it? I thought about the question. 8 years ago, that money represented power, security, a way to protect what was mine. Now it just looked like chains. No, I said. I don't. Elizabeth tugged my hand. Does this mean you're not in trouble anymore? It means I'm in a different kind of trouble, I said. The kind where I have to tell the truth and accept what comes next. Will they send you to jail? Maybe. For a little while. Her face fell. But even if they do, I said, kneeling down, I'll still be your dad, and I'll still keep my promises. She hugged me tight. Over her shoulder, I saw Agent Chen approach. We need Ms. Trevette to give a formal statement, she said. Angie stiffened. About what? About the night of the break-in. What she saw. What she heard. What she knows. I don't know anything, Angie said quickly. Ma'am, lying to a federal agent is a felony. I'm not lying. I'm a caregiver. I take care of his daughter. That's all. Agent Chen looked at me. Mr. Bearden, would you like to tell her, or should I? I sighed. Angie, they know. Everything. The safe, the theft, Elizabeth's plan, all of it. Her face went pale. I need you to tell them the truth, I said, not to protect me, to protect yourself. I was trying to steal from you. You were trying to save my daughter, I interrupted. There's a difference. Agent Chen pulled out a chair. Ms. Trevette, we're not here to charge you. We're here to verify Mr. Bearden's account. If what he says is true, that you acted under duress and at the direction of a minor child in a medical crisis, then you're not culpable. Angie looked at me. I nodded. Slowly, she sat down, and she told them everything. 2 weeks later, the empire was gone. 37 arrests, federal indictments spanning 3 states, asset seizures totaling $14 million. My name was in every headline. Former biker boss turns informant. Kevin Bearden dismantles criminal network from the inside. Witness cooperation leads to largest organized crime bust in decade. I didn't read them. I didn't need to. I already knew what they'd say. That I was a rat, a coward, a traitor. That I'd betrayed everyone who ever trusted me. And they were right. But I'd also saved my daughter. And that was the only headline that mattered. Agent Chen called me on a Thursday morning. The DA's office has made a decision, she said. My chest tightened. And? Given your cooperation, your clean record for the past 8 years, and the circumstances surrounding your re-entry into criminal activity, they're offering a deal. What kind of deal? Probation, 5 years, community service, regular check-ins, and full asset forfeiture. I closed my eyes. No jail time. There's one more thing, she said. What? The seized assets are being liquidated. A portion will go to victims' restitution. But the court has authorized a medical hardship exception. What does that mean? It means Elizabeth's surgery can be funded through the restitution program, legally, cleanly, no questions asked. My breath caught. Are you serious? The procedure is scheduled for next week. Cedars-Sinai. Dr. Richardson is the lead surgeon. All expenses covered. I couldn't speak. Mr. Bearden? I'm here, I managed. Thank you. Don't thank me, she said. Thank your daughter. She's the reason any of this matters. That night, I sat with Elizabeth in her room. She was drawing pictures of flowers, her favorite. The doctors called, I said. You're getting your surgery. She looked up, eyes wide. Really? Really? And you didn't use the bad money? No, baby, everything's clean. Everything's right. She set down her crayon and hugged me. Mom would be proud of you, she whispered. I held her tight, tears burning in my eyes. I hope so, I said. I know so. When I tucked her in that night, she looked up at me with a question in her eyes. Daddy? Yeah, baby? Was it hard, giving everything up? I thought about it. The power, the respect, the fear, all of it gone. And in its place, just a chance to be the man my wife believed I could be. No, I said honestly. It was the easiest thing I ever did. She smiled and closed her eyes. And for the first time in 8 years, I walked out of her room without the weight of the world on my shoulders. Just a father. Nothing more. Nothing less. The surgery was scheduled for 6 o'clock a.m. We arrived at Cedars-Sinai at 4:30, when the sky was still dark and the hallways were quiet except for the sound of our footsteps. Elizabeth held my hand on one side. Angie held the other. Neither of them let go. The pre-op room was small and sterile. A nurse came in and explained the procedure in terms I barely understood. Craniotomy, resection, monitoring. Elizabeth listened carefully, nodding like she'd heard it all before. She probably had. "You'll be asleep the whole time," the nurse said gently. "And when you wake up, your dad will be right there." Elizabeth looked at me. "Promise?" "Promise," I said. They wheeled her away at 5:50 a.m. I watched until the double doors closed behind her. Then I stood there, staring at nothing, feeling more helpless than I'd ever felt in my life. Angie touched my arm. "Come on," she said softly. "Let's sit down." The waiting room was empty except for us. Pale blue chairs, fluorescent lights, a television playing the morning news on mute. I sat. Angie sat beside me, and we waited. 6:15 a.m. The surgery had started. I checked my phone. No messages, no calls, nothing to do but sit. I'd spent my entire adult life in control, planning, strategizing, anticipating every threat. I'd built an empire on power and fear, and now, sitting in this waiting room, I had none of it. No weapons, no crew, no influence, just hope. And it terrified me. 7 o'clock a.m. Angie brought coffee from the machine down the hall. It tasted like burnt plastic, but I drank it anyway. "How long did they say it would take?" she asked. 4 to 6 hours. She nodded. We sat in silence. Then she spoke again. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you regret it? Any of it?" I thought about the question. The crew, the empire, the years I spent building something that could be torn down in 2 weeks. "I regret that it took this long," I said. "I regret that my daughter had to almost die for me to see clearly. But the life itself..." I looked at her. "I regret every second I wasn't the man my wife needed me to be. Every choice I made that put fear before love. Every time I chose power over presence." I paused. "But I don't regret where it led me, because it led me here, to this moment, where the only thing that matters is that little girl in that operating room." Angie's eyes glistened. "She's lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one." 9:30 a.m. A nurse came out to update us. "The surgery is progressing well," she said. "Dr. Bearden, Richardson wanted me to let you know they've successfully accessed the tumor site. Everything is on schedule." "Can I see her?" "Not yet, but soon." She left. I put my head in my hands. Angie rubbed my back. "She's strong," she said, "just like her dad." "I'm not strong," I said. "Not like this. Not when it matters." Strength isn't always about control, Kevin. Sometimes it's about surrender. 11:45 a.m. My mind drifted. Back to the safe room. Cash on the floor. Elizabeth standing there with her note. "She needs it for my surgery." 8 years old. And she'd been willing to become a criminal to protect me, to keep me from breaking a promise. I'd built walls around her to keep her safe, but she'd been protecting me the whole time. How had I missed that? How had I been so blind? 1:10 p.m. Angie had fallen asleep in the chair beside me, her head resting on my shoulder. I didn't move. I just sat there staring at the double doors, waiting for them to open. waiting for someone to tell me my daughter was okay, that she'd survived, that I hadn't lost her. The television flickered. A news story about the biker arrests. My face on the screen. I didn't care. Let them talk. Let them call me a traitor. Let them hate me. As long as Elizabeth lived, none of it mattered. 2:30 p.m. The doors opened. I stood so fast Angie jolted awake. A surgeon walked toward us, still in scrubs, a surgical cap pulled down over graying hair. Dr. Richardson. I'd seen his photo in the file. He pulled down his mask. His face was tired, but he was smiling. Mr. Bearden? That's me. He extended his hand. I shook it, my own hand trembling. The surgery was successful, he said. The world stopped. We were able to remove the entire tumor with clean margins, no complications, no unexpected bleeding. Elizabeth tolerated the procedure beautifully. My knees almost buckled. Angie grabbed my arm to steady me. She's okay? I asked, my voice breaking. She's more than okay, Dr. Richardson said. She's going to make a full recovery. I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, couldn't do anything but stand there as relief crashed over me like a wave. She's in recovery now, the doctor continued. She'll be groggy for a while, but you can see her in about 20 minutes. Thank you, I managed. Thank you. He nodded. She's a fighter, your daughter. You should be very proud. I am. He smiled once more, then walked back through the doors. I stood there, frozen. Angie was crying. I realized I was too. She's okay, I whispered. She's okay, Angie repeated, laughing through tears. I pulled her into a hug. And for the first time in 8 years, maybe longer, I let myself fall apart. Not from fear, not from grief, but from gratitude. 20 minutes later, a nurse led us to the recovery room. Elizabeth was lying in a hospital bed, a bandage wrapped around her head, her eyes closed. But she was breathing, steady, strong, alive. I walked to her bedside and took her small hand in mine. Her eyes fluttered open. Daddy? She whispered, her voice hoarse. I'm here, baby. She smiled. Just a little. Did you keep your promise? I brushed a tear from my cheek. Every single one. She squeezed my hand. Good. Then she closed her eyes and drifted back to sleep. I sat beside her, holding her hand, watching her breathe. And I knew. This was the moment everything had been leading to. Not the raid, not the arrests, not the empire falling. This, my daughter, alive, safe, free. And so was I. If you're crying right now, you're not alone. This is what it looks like when everything you thought mattered, the power, the money, the reputation, disappears, and all that's left is what was real all along. Comment below if this hit you in the heart, and keep watching, because the story isn't over. Elizabeth stayed in the hospital for 6 days. The first 2 were the hardest. Pain, nausea, dizziness from the anesthesia. But by day 3, she was sitting up. By day 4, she was asking for her teddy bear and drawing pictures of flowers. By day 5, she was smiling. Really smiling. Not the careful, guarded smile I'd seen for the past 2 years. But the kind of smile that lit up her whole face. The kind her mother used to have. Angie never left. She slept in the chair beside Elizabeth's bed, brought her books to read, and sat with her during the long hours when the nurses came and went. I watched them together, the way Angie brushed Elizabeth's hair carefully around the bandages, the way Elizabeth reached for her hand when the pain got bad, the way they'd built something I hadn't even realized was happening. A bond. A family. On the 6th day, as the doctors were preparing Elizabeth's discharge papers, I pulled Angie aside. "I need to ask you something," I said. She looked at me, concerned. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I need to know if you're planning to stay." Her expression softened. "Stay?" "With us. With Elizabeth. She's going to need care during recovery. Physical therapy, follow-up appointments, and I stopped, suddenly unsure of how to say what I needed to say. "I can't do this alone," I admitted. "And more than that, I don't want to." Angie studied my face. "Kevin, I'm a caregiver. You don't have to ask me to stay. It's my job." "That's not what I'm asking." She went quiet. "Then what are you asking?" I took a breath. "I'm asking if you'll be part of this family. Not as an employee, not as someone I hired, but as someone who belongs here." Her eyes filled with tears. "You mean that?" "I've never meant anything more." She didn't answer right away. She just looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Yeah," she said softly. "I'll stay." We brought Elizabeth home on a Tuesday afternoon. The apartment felt different now. Lighter, somehow. The safe room was still empty. The feds had taken everything, but I didn't miss it. I'd had the locks changed, the safes removed. Now it was just a room. Nothing more. Elizabeth settled onto the couch with her bear, wrapped in blankets, her head still bandaged, but her eyes clear. "It's good to be home," she said. "It's good to have you home," I replied. Angie brought her tea and sat beside her, and we stayed like that for a while. Just the three of us. Quiet. Safe. Whole. 2 weeks later, I had my sentencing hearing. Agent Chen was there. So was the federal prosecutor. The judge reviewed my case with a stern expression, reading through the files, the cooperation agreements, the testimony I'd provided. "Mr. Bearden," the judge said finally, "you've caused significant harm to this community over the years. Your actions facilitated violence, addiction, and fear." I stood, hands clasped in front of me. "I know, Your Honor. However," she continued, "your cooperation has led to the dismantling of a vast criminal network. Your testimony has resulted in 37 convictions, and the circumstances that led to your re-entry into criminal activity, while not excusable, are mitigating." She paused. "This court sentences you to 5 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling. You will forfeit all remaining assets. You will have no contact with any former associates, and you will report to your probation officer weekly for the duration of your sentence." She looked at me. "Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Then this court is adjourned." The gavel fell. I walked out of the courtroom a free man. Not innocent, but free. That night I sat with Elizabeth in her room. She was drawing again, a picture of a house with 3 people standing outside. "Who's that?" I asked, pointing. "That's you," she said. "That's me, and that's Miss Angie. We look happy." "We are happy." She set down her crayon and looked at me. "Daddy, are you scared?" "Of what?" "Of what happens next. Without the business. Without the money." I thought about it. For so long, I'd measured my worth in power, in control, in the ability to make people fear me. But sitting here, in this room, with my daughter alive and healing beside me, I realized I'd never felt richer. "No," I said honestly. "I'm not scared." "What are you?" I smiled. "Grateful." She hugged me. "Me too." A month later, Elizabeth's bandages came off. Dr. Richardson examined her carefully, running tests, checking her reflexes, asking questions. Finally, he stepped back. "She's healing beautifully," he said. "No signs of infection, no neurological deficits. I'd say she's on track for a full recovery." Elizabeth beamed. Does that mean I can go back to school? In a few weeks, he said. But yes, you can go back to being a normal kid. She looked at me. Did you hear that, Daddy? Normal. I laughed, tears stinging my eyes. Yeah, baby, I heard. That evening, we celebrated. Angie made dinner, Elizabeth's favorite, spaghetti and meatballs. We ate together at the table, the three of us, talking and laughing like we'd been doing this forever, like this was always how it was supposed to be. After dinner, Elizabeth asked if she could watch a movie. Angie set it up while I cleaned the dishes. When I came back into the living room, Elizabeth was curled up on the couch, her head resting on Angie's shoulder. Angie looked at me and smiled. I sat on the other side of Elizabeth, and she immediately snuggled into me. Daddy, she whispered. Yeah, baby? Are you happy? I looked at her, at Angie, at the life we were building from the ruins of everything I'd destroyed. Yeah, I said. I really am. Good, she said. Because I dreamed this, a long time ago. All three of us, together. You did? She nodded. And in the dream, you told me something. What did I tell you? She looked up at me with those big, knowing eyes. You told me you were finally free. My throat tightened. I pulled her close and kissed the top of her head. I am, baby, I whispered. For the first time in my life, I finally am. She smiled, and for the first time in years, I believed it. Not because I'd won, not because I'd escaped, but because I'd chosen. And that choice had saved us all. Outside, the city buzzed with life. Somewhere out there, the crews were still running. The empire I'd left behind had been carved up and redistributed. My name was probably still whispered in back rooms and dive bars. Traitor, rat, coward. But in here, in this small apartment with my daughter and the woman who'd helped save her, I was just Kevin, a father, a man trying to be better than he was, and that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. 3 years later, the sun came through the kitchen window in golden streaks, warming the counter where I stood making breakfast. Pancakes, Elizabeth's favorite. She sat at the table doing homework, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, no trace of the scar hidden beneath. You wouldn't know by looking at her that she'd ever been sick. Dr. Bong, Richardson called her his miracle patient. I just called her my daughter. Dad, can you help me with this math problem? She asked, not looking up from her notebook. Let me see. I wiped my hands and walked over, reading the equation over her shoulder. Fractions. I'd gotten good at this. Homework, parent-teacher conferences, school plays. All the normal things I'd missed for so long. Okay, so if you reduce this fraction here... The door opened. Angie walked in, grocery bags in her arms, smiling when she saw us. Smells good, she said. Pancakes, Elizabeth announced. Dad's getting better at them. Still not as good as yours, I said to Angie. She laughed, setting the bags on the counter. You're learning. 3 years. It had taken 3 years to build this life. Quiet, simple, normal, and I'd never been happier. After breakfast, I drove Elizabeth to school. She kissed me on the cheek before hopping out. Love you, Dad. Love you too, Lizzie. I watched her walk through the gates, backpack bouncing, chatting with friends. Healthy, safe, free. Everything I'd fought for. Everything I'd destroyed an empire to protect. I spent my mornings at the community center now. It wasn't much. A converted warehouse on the east side funded by a restitution grant and staffed mostly by volunteers. We ran programs for at-risk youth. Kids who were heading down the same path I'd walked. Kids who thought power and fear were the only ways to survive. I told them the truth. That power was a trap. That fear was a prison. That the strongest thing you could ever do was walk away. Most of them didn't believe me at first, but some did. And for those few, the ones who listened, who asked questions, who wanted something different, I was there. Mr. Bearden? A kid named Marcus, no relation to the biker, stood in the doorway of my office. 16, skinny, angry at the world. Yeah, Marcus, come in. He sat down, fidgeting with the strings on his hoodie. My cousin wants me to run with his crew, he said quietly. Says I could make good money. Says I'd be protected. I leaned back in my chair. What do you think? I don't know. My mom's struggling. We need the money. And you think joining a crew is the answer? He shrugged. You did it. I did, I said. And you know where it got me? Rich, alone, terrified, and almost cost me my daughter's life. He looked up. I thought you were powerful. I was, and it meant nothing when the people I loved needed me most. I leaned forward. You want to help your mom? Finish school, get a job, be someone she doesn't have to worry about at night. That's power, Marcus. Real power. He was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. Okay. Okay? I'll think about it. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no. And sometimes that was enough. That evening, I walked through the apartment, past the living room where Elizabeth was watching TV, past the kitchen where Angie was cooking dinner, down the hallway to the room that used to be my office, the safe room. The door was open now, always open. The safes were gone, the locks removed. In their place, bookshelves, a desk, a window that let in light. Angie used it for her nursing certification studies now. I stood in the doorway looking at the space that had once held everything I thought defined me. Money, power, secrets. All of it gone. And I didn't miss a single piece. You okay? I turned. Angie stood behind me, a dish towel in her hands. Yeah, I said, just thinking. About? How different everything is. She stepped beside me, looking into the room. Do you ever regret it? No, I said. Not even once. She slipped her hand into mine. Good, because I don't either. That night, after dinner, after Elizabeth went to bed, I sat on the couch with Angie. The TV was on, but neither of us was watching. I got a call today, I said. From who? Agent Chen. She said they're closing the last of the cases. Everyone's been sentenced. The network is completely dismantled. Angie nodded. How do you feel about that? Relieved. Like I can finally stop looking over my shoulder. And what comes next? I thought about it. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe nothing. Maybe we just keep living. She smiled. I like the sound of that. Later, I checked on Elizabeth one last time before bed. She was asleep, her bear tucked under her arm, her breathing slow and steady. I knelt beside her bed and whispered, I kept my promise, baby. To you, to your mom, to myself. She stirred slightly but didn't wake. I kissed her forehead and stood. As I walked back down the hallway, I stopped at the window. The city stretched out below, lights flickering in the darkness. Somewhere out there, crews were still running. Deals were still being made. Violence was still the language of power. But I wasn't part of it anymore. I'd walked away, and I'd never looked back. Because here's what I learned. Power means nothing without love. Violence is just weakness wearing armor. And sometimes, most times, the bravest thing you can do is surrender. Surrender the life you built. Surrender the reputation you earned. Surrender everything you thought defined you. Because when you strip it all away, the fear, the control, the empire, what's left is the only thing that ever really mattered. The people you love, the promises you keep, the man you choose to be. I chose to be a father. I chose to be free. And that choice saved us all. Sometimes saving someone means destroying the life you built and being brave enough to start over, not as the man you were, but as the man you were always meant to be. If this story reminded you that it's never too late to change, that redemption is always possible, and that love is the only power that truly matters, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss a story like this. Second, drop a comment and tell me what moment hit you the hardest. Was it when Elizabeth handed him the note? When he chose surrender over violence? When he finally found freedom? I read every single comment and I want to hear from you. And third, share this video with someone who needs to hear that people can change, that promises matter, and that the bravest choice is always love. Because every person deserves a second chance. Every child deserves a parent who chooses them. And every story of darkness can become a story of light, if you're brave enough to walk away. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.